So he is bigger than I thought he was going to be, which is why he's not sitting all the way in frame here. I got this all set up. I'm like, no, I think I can get I can make this work. And he's a big boy with a big wide wingspan as part of the issue too. But here's Jetfire. He's here. Amazon failed me. TF Source came through. Showed up today. Here he is in his fully armored jet mode with his thruster packs and everything cool in jet mode. A couple of things to note. One, all of his extra armor bits for robot mode form a little kind of a science sled like Shockwave has on the top. That's really the only real difference in jet mode between the armored and unarmored mode, because this forms a little sled. Now, officially, the instructions have these outer guns folded back, and you can do that too, but he's got like a little science sled drone thing like Shockwave that all of his armor forms for jet mode. It's all right. I mean, it is kind of neat that it all stores the way it all goes together. But you can take that off, and then you have more of a traditional looking Skyfire, even though the toy says Jetfire on it, right? Toy says Jetfire. Make sure I'm not going crazy. Jetfire, yes, which was his toy name back in the day. So, cool. We'll take this armor off. We'll set this off to the side for right now. Real quick, while he's still here, do a quick size comparison with his old Decepticon buddy Starscream. And you can see he is much larger. He's a very, very large Transformer. He does also currently have the Decepticon symbol, and we'll get to that in a bit. Now, he does have here on his jet mode some jet features. The fact to fold this nose cone down, you can open this up here, and you can see there's a little Prime Master in there. This is the 13th Prime guy. He's just sitting in there. Now, it does come with it if you don't want that empty, or you don't want to put a Prime Master in there or have it in there in robot mode. It comes with this little filler piece, which does have its own peg on it, so I guess you could store that somewhere else or on a weapon if you wanted to. The instructions don't really get into it, but you kind of want to push it in like that and pop it in. You can hear it click into place, and to get it out, getting it out can be a little tricky, but you want to basically pop the front part off. You don't want to try to flip it out through the back. You want to get this front part up here, and then kind of flip it up like that. But yeah, so when you don't have a little Titan Master in there, there's just like some mechanical detailing. And it looks fine in jet mode with that in there. But like I said, if you can open it up if you want. He's got these blast effects, which are really cool, and we'll get to more of them later. But it's actually 3 separate blast effects, each one. So you've got 3 different blast effects. Larger pegs, so that will fit into any actual peg holes. Like if you just want to have maybe he's got a small thrust, you can just put that on there. Maybe he's just got that kind of thrust. That's fine too. Maybe he's going full blast, but not super full blast. You got that on there. You got different options, and then you can also, like I said, if you just want to do that with this in the middle, you can do that for gun blast effects, because on top of the thicker pegs, it also has the smaller peg hole in the middle, so that anywhere you've got a siege figure, trying to find one on him here, he's got one. I guess here's one from his chest thing. Anytime you've got one of those regular old damage points, you can plug those on as well. So your option on how you want to use these blast effects. You just have that coming out if you just don't want the big blast effect. So however you want to do it, it's pretty cool. I like blast effects that do that. I've had some Mega Man figures that have done something similar. But he's got these double long thrusters back here. Part of them are on the backpack, part of them go into the legs. But if you pop this up, and this is we're gonna start transformation here as well. But the backpack, you can see this kind of this clear canopy up here. Underneath that, as this backpack lifts up, you can also fit. You can see them down in there. This collapses for how the backpack works, but you can see I've got a couple more of the Prime Masters. All these came with Optimus Primal, but the Comic-Con Optimus Primal. You can store a couple dudes in there too, if you want. There's no fillers for that, but if you want to use it, you can. Surprise little people inside there. So yeah, and then we'll do a quick look at his jet mode. Oh, come on, there we go. His jet mode without all the accoutrement on it. Just a Nice looking Skyfire. I don't have the, I saw some people complaining of like nose droop. I don't appear to be suffering from it. But I do understand people are complaining about like getting all this tabbed in. It's kind of a loose connection up here, looser than I would expect, considering the rest of the toy is so solid. But the nose seems to stay in place pretty securely. It doesn't seem to be drooping significantly. I'm not entirely sure how bad it is. I've just heard people talk. I literally just saw somebody talking about it on Twitter. He's got fold-up landing gear. And also up here, there's a couple little peg holes, so when you're flying around, you can have a character hang on, 2 characters hang on to the underside of his jet mode, or you can just fold them up and leave them out of the way. He also has 2 more down here that I was like, it said flip them out. I'm like, how do I flip these out? These hip panels actually slide forward and then give you access to them. Because I'm like, that really sinks in there really hard, and I don't know how you're going to get in there to get those out of there unless you have a really tight, small screwdriver or spudger to get in there and pop those out. And then I realized these hip panels slide out, so that's nice. And then they retract back in to form the waist of the robot, which is really kind of a neat idea. They've done some neat engineering bits on this guy. So yeah, there is Jetfire. And again, you can do this in robot mode or vehicle mode, but you can flip. We've all seen that the chest logo can flip around, which is cool. So to transform him, like I said, you start back here. You unpeg these thrusters. There we go. Come on, get this backpack unpegged, and lift it up, and then it just kind of comes up, collapses on up into here, and that's why that clear piece collapses. So shorten that canopy. Unpeg from right here. There's a tab here and a tab here. Unpeg the chest pieces here. That'll start freeing up the this whole front end. Come under the bottom. I'm going to stand him up a little bit like this. You can also go ahead and flip his feet out. This will make this little step a little easier. Flip out the front part of the foot, the rear part of the foot. When you're going back to jet mode, make sure this folds all the way in. It kind of snaps into place. That will allow the foot to fold up all the way. Otherwise, it's going to stick out a little bit. We'll flip those out. We'll stand them up. And then we'll come up here and get these up out of the way. Lift them up. Unpeg. These are pegged in. There's a peg right there that goes into this peg hole here on his arm. Now to get the arms out of the way and pull them up out of the body cavity like that. Snap them into place. The arms, this piece can flip up. It'll probably do it automatically as you transform it, but then you kind of wiggle it to extend that elbow hinge. Flip the whole fist out, open it around like this, fold this panel up into the body, and then close this, and you can see there's a peg here that goes into this peg hole here. It's a little on the low side, but there's his arm done. You see he's got that retractable peg hole, which again we'll show off here in a minute when we get all the way to robot mode. Extend that. You can hear the clackety ratchets. Fold that up, peg that in. His arms are done. You see now he's kind of dwarfing it. He's got short little stubby legs. And then this comes up. This whole assembly comes down. Fold the nose cone up and under like this. Bring the whole assembly down. His head kind of goes up into this backpack. There's a couple of like spring-loaded panels. Rotate these panels up and out right here. Fold this down. You can see there's some stuff that's going to tab in down here. Lock that into place. These panels come down. And again, there's a tab here. Just kind of push them until they lock into place here on the chest. Bring his head down. Now he's getting there, although now he's super short. We can fix that. Don't worry. The legs come down and around. And then peg in up here, at which point you untab this from the back, and then this thruster piece that was holding into the backpack folds up, around, fills in his leg, pegs into the side of this piece. It's not straight, or is that all the way in? To form the leg, make sure the heel's flipped out. Okay, this is not straight, that's why. Let's get this back out. Make sure this is pegged in on this side. There we go. Once you get it all lined up properly, there we go. Now it's closed. So when you bring the legs up and around, there's a couple tabs on this side. There's a slot on this side. Make sure it slots into the upper part of the leg, and then these two tabs will peg into the gray piece. On a double hinge. Make sure that's lined up. Make sure that's lifted all the way up. Pegged in. Heel. Now he's standing up. Oh, arm came unpegged. One of the drawbacks is those hands do come unpegged from that thing that's holding the hinge. Make it not quite as bright here. And we'll look at the backpack. You can leave these straight back, straight to the side. The wings come up like this. Bring them all the way up and snap them into place. Let's come up a little bit more. To get the tips, that's about as high up as I can get it. All right, now here we go. I got an idea. There we go. And then these pieces, this panel untabs and folds up on the wingtips. This panel folds up and in. You can see there's a slot here for it. Fold it up and around. Fold this panel down and around. This will stick out, this peg hole right here. You can flip it down. I'm going to leave it sticking straight out because it's going to be easier in a minute, but that can fold all the way down and around and not be visible here in robot mode. And you see there's a little tab here that's going to tab into the wingtip. We're going to leave those sticking straight out because you're not going to see them from the front. And there is Jetfire in his big robot mode, and he is big. See how much of him we can get in here with what we've got. So he's very large. We'll do some size comparisons, or at least a size comparison here in a minute. But yeah, so there is his base robot mode. He's got side to side, up and down at the neck, head rotation, ratcheting shoulders. I feel like these should be pegged in a little bit better than this. No, maybe that's it. Okay, whatever. No, that's right. Okay. Oh, no, there we go. There we go. Anyway, so ratchet shoulders, forward and back, bicep swivel, tight ratcheting elbows, wrist swivel. And like I said, the fingers, they're all one piece here, but I love that like there's a little hole, a peg hole for holding weapons. You open up his hand, and that peg hole slides and hides away. Neat little engineering, much like the waist handles there in jet mode. Again, this gimmick and swap factions. I think that's cool. No waist swivel because of how he transforms, unfortunately. But at least, oh no, he does have a waist swivel. It is very minor because of how it works, but he does actually have some waist swivel there. I was about to say, as soon as I said that, I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure somebody had a picture of one. Ratcheting hips front to back, not so much side to side. Thigh swivel, big thick ratcheting knees. Does he have ankle tilt? Does not appear to have ankle tilt, but he's still pretty sturdy no matter how you do it. There's a pin through here, and I'm not entirely sure what that's for. Oh, that's the pin that this whole thing collapses on. Okay. Just like mysterious pin. He does actually have battle damage on him. It's hard to see, but if you look down at his legs, you see kind of this grayish discoloration here on his lower leg and on his thighs. That's not just the lighting. That's actual like slightly grayer paint there, and it's really on his lower body. I don't see any spots of it. Granted, it's really pale. Maybe I'm missing something on his biceps. But, yeah, not a whole lot of battle damage. Certainly not as obvious as a lot of Siege figures have. His weapon pack, we'll go ahead and... These guns come off. They're just like this little angled bit tabs into the side. Underneath, these panels like unpeg from the main gun here. And then they're pegged in. The back peg goes into this little slot here on the back of the armor. The gun has two pegs They go in on the back and the front, pegs here and here. And what's neat is this double gun, you can have him just hold it as double-barreled gun, one peg, put it through into his hand. It's a little loose in his hand, although I'm not entirely sure how much of that is the gun sits loosely. Because of the gimmick, the actual peg hole is a little loose. The gun's actually pretty secure in the peg, but the peg wobbles a little bit, and if you don't have that wrist pegged in super tight, and it doesn't stay pegged in with much leverage, so his gun can be a little wobbly, but not too bad. But you can hold it like that. Again, the gun barrels can use the blast effects if you wish. Like that. Any of the blast effects. Again, he's got several points on his body where you can attach some explosions and things. Like there's one here, all over his arms. A lot of forearms. There's little bits, his knees. There's bits all over his body where you can attach these things. And then what's neat is he does, in fact, have... it's not as Valkyrie-esque as his old Jetfire mode, but you can really get him ready for battle. So the gun itself, like I said, right now it's got one peg here, but you split it in half. This piece can flip up, giving this gun a peg. This piece has its own separate peg that you can flip down. So you can give him two weapons. Might want to flip them around so the screws are on the inside, but it's entirely up to you. So you can go ahead and double rifle him up. There. These pieces can attach to the arms. He just has some red bits reminiscent of his leg armor here. But all the stuff's going to go up here on top. But that goes on there. These guns, you pop this off. These guns can also separate if you want to have like a little spear gun. I don't know, could that fit in the... Oh, I guess that can fit in the tip of the rifle if you want. Or wherever. That's a standard peg hole. But you can split these if you want. But these attach back here behind the wing. Let's come up like this. And then here's where these pegs come up. You lift these up, and then these smaller weapons, the instructions attach here on the tips of the wings, just to make them look more, I don't know, armored up. So we'll go ahead and plug this in. Put this peg hole up, your peg up, plug it in with this peg hole. Here on this weapon. It's coming together. Got some armor. Gonna kick some butt. And then this little blue translucent piece on his head is actually spring-loaded, because if you take this chest armor and pop it open, there's a helmet inside, a little faceplate. And this little blue square pegs into the translucent blue on his head. It's just kind of a spring-loaded joint. So now he's got an armored mask. Flip open these panels here on his chest. Come here, you. There we go. You're not one to cooperate, but you can do it. That's what I get for trimming my nails today. They weren't like super bad, but they did need it. Where'd my spludger go? There it is. There we go. Flip those panels out. And then this piece, there's two little, you can see there's two little tabs here. It even has a little peg hole for this little bit on this little peg on his chest. But these two tabs go into these two slots on the side of the armor. That one clearly did not line up properly. Come on, you. There we go. And there he is, super armored up. Again, doesn't look remotely like old school Jetfire. But there you have it. Does he have any peg holes on the side of his head? Nuts. I was thinking maybe if you could, if this worked, if he had peg holes on the side of his head, maybe you could give him antenna. But they didn't do that. Man, that would have been awesome if they'd found a way to put a couple of peg holes there where these, or maybe even the tips of these, could sit on the side of his head. Like if you could pull this off and set it right there to give him antenna, that would be cool. Oh, I knocked the camera sideways. He's big. I knew he was large, and he still doesn't strike me as as large as I was expecting him to be based on everybody's reports, but now that I've got him in the review space, and I'm realizing it takes up more space than I thought. And then real quick, because they were friends back in Decepticon Academy or whatever, there he is with Voyager Starscream. So you can see he's big. And he's a little heftier than I thought. I expected him to be, for a larger robot, I was expecting him to have more hollow bits. And while there are some hollow bits, like the way those thrusters hide inside the legs, I'm throwing Lego pieces over here on the side of the camera. He actually is he's got more heft to him than I thought it was going to. But yeah, he's cool. He's here. Finally, it is Siege Commander class, I think is what they're calling this, Jetfire.